Yeah, I know what you're thinking. He's starting out a video, he's wearing an AC/DC hat and a Kiss t-shirt. Well, it's going to be the premise of this video. How's it going, old schoolers? You are Kicking It Old School. I'm your host, Russell JS. Tonight on Kicking It Old School, I was thinking two live albums from two killer bands. I want them to battle it out tonight. These were live albums that came out around the 90s. Now, remember the video I put out, I think it was 2 years ago or so, where I talked about live albums for rock bands were like a huge staple for their careers, because what it was, you know, like their first couple albums weren't selling, but their concerts were like the talk of the town. Well, you know, like Kiss Alive, Frampton Comes Alive, Kiss Alive 2, Blue Oyster Cult, On Your Feet or On Your Knees, Blue Oyster Cult, Some Enchanted Evening, Cheap Trick at Budokan, Ted Nugent, Double Live Gonzo, and, you know, all kinds of stuff going on in the 70s with all hard rock. Well, back in the early 90s, there were still veteran bands in the wake of grunge. You know, the grunge scene, you know, consisted mainly of Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and, you know, bands like that, and even, you know, shock metal like White Zombie, and, you know, a newer thrash metal band that came out of Texas called Pantera, with Metallica and Megadeth and Van Halen still carrying that flag in hard rock along with Ozzy Osbourne and Aerosmith. Well, there were some veteran hard rock bands who were, you know, they wanted to go ahead and enjoy the fruit of their labor. They had been around since like the 70s, kept going at it in the 80s, despite lineup changes due to death or, you know, something not working out. I mean, a lot of older bands were coming out of the woodwork. They're like, hey, while we're on tour, let's go ahead and record some of the concert footage, not only on video, but on tape as well, so we could put out a video and a live album. Well, a lot of these older bands were doing that, and we're talking MTV in the early 90s came out with a little show called Unplugged, which showcased such great artists as Stevie Ray Vaughan, Neil Young, Aerosmith. You know, Eric Clapton was the forefront in, you know, MTV Unplugged albums to come out, because later on you'd have Nirvana and Alice in Chains and all them. But two veteran rock bands, and this is why I'm wearing an AC/DC hat and a Kiss t-shirt. Their live albums that came out in the early 1990s became instant classics. What am I talking about? And I love both these live albums, and I have to compare them. You know, I got to do a dare to compare. If you're new to the channel, you know, don't leave any hatred in the comments. If you're new to the channel, hit a like, a subscribe. You know, leave a comment in the box, but don't be too mean. Don't be too nasty with me. I mean, we can all agree to disagree. So the first one, it's going to be 1992's AC/DC Live versus You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best. The hottest band in the world, Kiss. Well, they kind of weren't as hot. You know, they weren't kind of as hot, you know, around that time, but their album Revenge, they were on tour in support of their album Revenge, and it was probably the heaviest record that they ever put out to date. But what I want to do is I'm going to compare how these live albums hold up based on not, you know, like song versus song, but the way they put the, you know, the track list in order. You know, like you go to a concert, every concert they have a set list of what songs are going to play that night, what they're going to start with and what they're going to end with. And, you know, based on the record producer, the way it was recorded, I've got a whole thing written down, you know, beginning track, ending track. So without further ado, let's dare to compare these bad Oscars out, shall we? Now, what I want to go ahead with AC/DC Live, produced by Bruce Fairbairn. Now, Bruce Fairbairn was a fairly good producer. I mean, with his credits going from 1977 to 1979. I mean, over that course of time, he was recording albums for the bands of such likes as Loverboy, Blue Oyster Cult, Bon Jovi, Van Halen, Kiss, Aerosmith. I mean, he recorded Permanent Vacation Pump and Get a Grip. He also recorded AC/DC's The Razor's Edge, which was a fairly good, hard-hitting record for AC/DC in that time. And, well, you know, I went ahead and listened to both of these CDs back to back. And there were some things I didn't like. Like, for instance, let's see. Here's the track list for AC/DC Live. Okay, beginning track, Thunderstruck. Now, I get it. Brian Johnson had been in the band for some time since Bon Scott's passing. And AC/DC really took off all the way when Back in Black came out. They had a big, huge hit with the song Hell's Bells. And, well, needless to say, instead of Thunderstruck, I mean, see, I get it. That was their main single of the time, because it came off of Razor's Edge, which was the current studio recording of the day. You know, why not start it off? You see, this track list is so out of whack. You know, if I was to go to an AC/DC concert where Brian is in the band, I mean, you got track number 1, Thunderstruck. Track number 2, Shoot to Thrill. Track number 3, Back in Black. Track number 4, Who Made Who. Track number 5, Heat Seeker. Track number 5, The Jack. Money Talks. You know, Hell's Bells, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, Whole Lot of Rosie, You Shook Me All Night Long, Highway to Hell, TNT, and For Those About to Rock, We Salute You. You know, had I been Bruce Fairbairn, I would have gone to Angus and the boys and been like, hey guys, here's what. I think, you know, this is how we should do the live album. This is how we should start it. Let's have Hell's Bells be the first track. And then we'll go ahead and put, say, TNT as number 2. And then Shoot to Thrill, The Jack. You know, do it like that. And you know what? You know, just have it start off with Hell's Bells and, you know, first couple tracks be from Bon Scott era as well. And, you know, here's where they have a point right here. The last track of this CD, For Those About to Rock, We Salute You. Okay, I mean, now don't get me wrong. Okay, this is where I'm going to rate it. Thunderstruck is not a bad tune to start off with. Of course, I mean, I would prefer Hell's Bells to be track 1. I mean, if I was to go see AC/DC in concert, I would hope they'd start with Hell's Bells. And, of course, have Highway to Hell be the first to last track on the album. And, you know, Bruce Fairbairn, you know, one of the things also about this, after each track, they fade out, and then they fade back, they come back in with the crowd. The whole idea of a live album is that it's supposed to be, you put your headphones on, close your eyes, and feel like you're at the concert, because you don't get to go to the concert. So, you know, recording, you know, I got, you know, nope. Beginning track, you know, I will go ahead and I'll be fair and I'll give a point. And, you know, I'll give a point for the ending track. Boy, that's really steep. I'm doing this based on points. And record producer, I'll give a point. So that's 3 points already for AC/DC. And now for the next one, Kiss Alive 3. Now this one right here, if I have to compare this to AC/DC Live, you know, this CD, I could pop this in and put on my headphones and close my eyes. I could feel like I'm at a Kiss concert from 1992. And, you know, here we go. Like, it's produced by Eddie Kramer, who is a legendary producer. You know, when, you know, say Bruce Fairbairn was probably going to college, you know, Eddie Kramer, he was recording for the Beatles. He was, you know, he had a who's who. I think he, you know, recorded for the Rolling Stones and he recorded for the Who at the time. But, you know, the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, the Yardbirds, Led Zeppelin, Kiss. He did some engineering for Kiss. He recorded Ace's, I think he was the producer. He was the only producer, you know, Ace's solo album was the only, you know, album he produced for any member of the band. I mean, this guy, he runs Jimi Hendrix studio Electric Ladyland in New York. Okay? I mean, he's legendary. I mean, put out such great albums of the time for, like, Clapton, I think, during Cream. Oh, yeah, that's my dog Gus right there. My buddy. Hey, Gus, what are you doing? He just wanted to pop up and say hello. And, you know, Eddie Kramer, he did a spectacular job in recording this live album. This one actually makes me feel like I'm at the show. I love the way it's recorded. You know, so for the recording, I got to give it a point. Right here, let's see, recording, point, producer, point. Now, we're going to go with track list. We're going to go with beginning track, track list, and ending track. Now, beginning track, well, it was 1992. And, you know, like, it'd been 10 years since the album Creatures of the Night had come out. And that was the last album they did in makeup. And Ace Frehley's last appearance ever of any kind with the band. He didn't even record on that album. They used session players, and that's when they brought in Vinnie Vincent and did that whole Ankh Man thing. But let's go over the track list. Creatures of the Night, yeah, I'll be fair there. That's, you know, that's a good opening track for Kiss in this time. And then you got number 2, which is Deuce. You know, that's a good staple, beginning staple for Kiss. You know, I'm glad that they keep it. I prefer it to be the first, but I'm glad they still at least have it as the second album. And here they are. They're getting into their post-makeup era. You know, with, I mean, 3 through 5, and then number 6 is makeup era, Watching You, 7, Domino. Truthfully, I would say, you know, number 3 is I Just Wanna. They could make they could have gone ahead and made track number 4 instead of Unholy, but then again, they were promoting the Revenge album at the time. But track number 4 could be I Love It Loud or Detroit Rock City. I Love It Loud is number 13 and Detroit Rock City is number 14. And in this album, they do showcase a lot more of their 80s era than they do 70s. So I can understand why, after Deuce, they go ahead and they put I Just Wanna and Unholy on there. Because, you know, again, they were touring in support of Revenge. And, you know, Heaven's on Fire, and it was that time of the 80s, you know, like, you know, a lot of their stuff that they hadn't, you know, from the 70s, they hadn't done in ages. And they put Watching You, which is 70s Kiss. And then Domino, which, again, that was off of Revenge. Now we're getting into the makeup era once again with I Was Made for Loving You. Good, you know, that's a real good track. I mean, I guess throughout the 80s, that became a good staple for them. I mean, that was Disco Kiss, or Kisco, as I like to call it, from Dynasty, when they tried to mix rock and disco back in '79. But when they do it in concert, it sounds way better. Once again, we're still in the makeup era with I Still Love You off Creatures. And then after that, we're still in the makeup era where they go with Rock and Roll All Night. Well, I'm not, it's not my most favorite song by Kiss, but, let's go ahead and move on and we'll get right back to it. Lick It Up, Forever. Okay, Lick It Up was when the album Lick It Up came out, and that's when Vinnie Vincent appeared on the album cover, and all 4 original members appeared on the front without makeup. Forever was from Hot in the Shade, which is the most undesired Kiss album ever recorded. I Love It Loud. That should be, where it's track number 13, that should be up at track number 10. And Detroit Rock City, like I said, again, Detroit Rock City should go maybe, right after, go ahead, actually do it right, just do it right after, say, Heaven's on Fire. And of course, the one song that really got me into Kiss, thanks to the movie Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, God Gave Rock and Roll to You. That is not, Kiss's style to end a concert with God Gave Rock and Roll to You. Usually they end it with Rock and Roll All Night. But again, they were still promoting the Revenge album. And they end this album, track number 16, with the Star Spangled Banner. And I got to say, it was actually a better version. Bruce Kulick sounded, I'd hate to say this, again, please, rock fans, do not criticize me and beat me up too bad. But Bruce Kulick's guitar sounded a lot cleaner and had a better tone than Jimi Hendrix, in my personal opinion. So, as far as track list goes, beginning track, ending track, I'm going to go ahead and give Kiss 2 points each. Well, 2 points for the beginning track, 1 point for the ending track. And the track list, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I've got to go ahead and line that up. Bam. So, here's what we're going to do, and this is the thing. I had to do it rating based on writing it down, as you can see right here. So what I'm going to do is I got to go ahead and count off the points, and this is going to be hard for me because I love both these albums. This was my time when I first discovered these 2 bands. This is when I first discovered AC/DC and Kiss. Okay, it was in the early 1990s. And, I remember it was Bruce Q, this is where and then I learned about their history and everything, both bands. So, AC/DC Live versus Kiss Alive 3. Recording, I gave 1 point for AC/DC Live, 1 point for producer, beginning track 1 point, track list 0, ending track 1 point, which gives AC/DC Live a total of 5 points. Now, Kiss Alive 3, for the recording, 1 point, producer, 1 point, beginning track, 2 points, track list, 5 points, ending track, 1 point. So there you go. Here you have it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Kiss Alive 3 has beaten AC/DC Live by 5 points. Now again, don't, if you're new to, leave your comments decent. Don't beat me up. Don't start arguments. I mean, I just went by what I feel. about these albums. I mean, I love both these albums. I don't hate either one. I love them both because these two CDs right here introduced me to these two great bands. I mean, it was right here. This is how I learned about them. And I went ahead and dug deep into their history of what they, you know, what they mean to heavy metal and hard rock. So, yes, Kiss Alive 3 has beaten AC/DC Live with 10 points against AC/DC's 5 points. Well, that's going to do it for this video. Again, if you're new to the channel, hit a like, hit a subscribe, leave a comment in the box down below, tell all your friends, and, you know, I'm going to get some more, more content going. I've got some stuff brewing. I've got a lot of catching up to do for the weekly NARC. I mean, it's just been hectic the last few months with things in general, but slowly but surely I'm getting things all in order. As of tomorrow night, I'm going to be working a second part-time job on weekends, working at a hotel, shuttling people from the hotel to the airport and the airport to the hotel, mainly like the flight crews and the pilots of the airlines. It's $11 an hour plus tips, but I need the money. I mean, even here in Florida, times are tough. They are getting tough around here. But anyway, I got to go ahead and close out this video. I'll be making more videos again. You know, you guys are really cool. Remember, tell all your friends, help me get this channel up and going, get more subscribers. I mean, right now, 46 subscribers is better than no subscribers. But, if you're new to the channel, again, feel free to subscribe and, a lot of stuff going on. Anyway, this is your old pal, Russell JS. I'm wanting to wish you all Godspeed, and may the force be with you always.